Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wholehearted Loving. I'm Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Georgiana.
Today, we're going to talk about 2 questions you can ask yourself when you're feeling muh, or when something needs to change and you're not quite sure what it is. You can learn more about us on our website at wholeheartedloving.com, and you can find self-reflection prompts for this episode and every episode on our Instagram at wholeheartedloving. Before we get started, we are going to do a body-based self-connection practice to connect with ourselves before we connect with each other and this podcast.
Okay. I don't think we've done one like this before yet on the podcast. So that's saying a lot for 80, however many episodes we've had now. Let's again just find a connection that you feel with your body that helps you feel like I'm here right now. Brings that awareness of I'm actually sitting right here, laying right here, standing right here. I'm sitting on a ball, so I feel a ball underneath me. I'm also pushing my palms into my legs, so I feel that body connection as well. And that's bringing me awareness to, like, I'm here right now, in my bedroom, in front of my laptop, with Steph, with you all. And in that, I naturally started to do the thing I wanted to share with you, but maybe you're not in that position yet, which is to let your body hang. Whatever that means to you in whatever position is available to you right now. So I'm just letting my head and my shoulders drop. If you were standing, you could do a front fold and hang. If you're sitting and you just have the ability to drop your head and neck, see how that feels. Perhaps dropping the head and neck also makes you want to drop the shoulders. So just play and maybe find some movement in that too. I notice I don't want to just be stationary. I want to move. Just taking your time with that, taking however much time you need. I'm watching Steph and I saw her hang her head to the side, which hadn't occurred to me. So I'm trying that out and that feels really nice.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Bear with me. That wonderful feeling of when you've given up.
That's exactly what it is, because it's very different when I saw you and I thought, oh, I can put my head to the side. If someone said to me, just bring your left ear to your left shoulder, I could do that. But it's a very different feeling than when I say to myself, just let your head hang to the side. It's like this ragdoll feeling of like, okay, that's it.
Relief.
It is relief.
Yeah.
Of I'm not even going to try or pretend I have it in me to hold things up right now.
Yeah.
Right? And I was recently prompted when doing a body practice and maybe this helps, maybe you want to try it again with this prompt. What's the laziest way you could do this right now?
I love it.
I remember when someone gave me that prompt, everything inside my body felt so happy. Because lazy had been a thing that was so frowned upon growing up. And so when someone like explicitly gave me the permission to do something in the laziest way possible, as if that's a good thing, my body knew, like, wow, that's really special.
It is. Oh, like when it's really, really hot out and you just need to drape yourself somewhere and not move. Mm-hmm. It's a relief, and not doing Relief.
And how neat is it to allow your body to take on that position when it has nothing to do with I'm so hot and exhausted that I'm giving up.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
very pleasant.
It was more pleasant than I even anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's fun about these practices too, is you get to surprise yourself with discovering some things that feel better than you would have thought they would.
Mm-hmm. That's really important for me, especially with the changeability of moments and how things will feel. This reminds me, I think the other day we were on a call and you had us doing something. Let me see if I can remember what. Oh, I remember what it was. It was shaking out our hands and like shaking them up, shaking them down. And I had the thought, which luckily was conscious, that, oh, well, I've shaken my hands before. I know what this feels like. I'm just going to keep an eye on the chat and not do anything. Then I was like, no, do the thing, to do the thing, because you never know what you will discover. And what I discovered was the extraordinary difference between the feeling of shaking both my hands at the same time and shaking one after the other.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different vibe, right?
Which one do you like better?
The one after the other. It feels like we're going somewhere or moving something. When it's just the two together,
Yeah.
it's this, like, I think I associate it with, something is yucky and just like moving a charge as opposed to going somewhere with it.
Interesting, because when I do two together, and so if you want to do this with us, we're just, how do you call it? We're shaking our hands, and one way to do it is shake them in the same direction at the same time, same speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stephanie's adding a head bob, but my head doesn't move that way, I don't think. And notice how that feels. For me, this feels like it would be good if I wanted to ramp up my energy.
Yes.
Right? But if I'm wanting to like slow things down, that doesn't actually, it feels like I'm ramping up.
Yes.
And sometimes I want to ramp up, but sometimes I don't want to ramp up. So when I go and I alternate one side and then the other, so they're going in opposite sort of directions, right? But yeah, if I slow it down, they're going in opposite directions.
No, they're going in the same. It's just one after the other.
Well, you call it one after the other.
I see. I see what you mean.
One hand's coming back, the other one's going forward, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of funny. It's the same thing, we just call it different things. And that's sort of, isn't that the basis of so many arguments?
Yes.
Like, aren't we actually saying the same thing? We are, just with different words. Anyways, when I do it this way, I can access a deep sigh.
Yes.
Right? And it feels more like, the image that I have is like mechanical parts fitting together and working together. Like, okay, we're connected. We got a groove going on. It's like rhythmic and soothing in a very different way.
Totally different.
And like whether I do it fast or slow, like fast and slow has a different feel.
Yeah.
But both still feel very sort of calming to me.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That there's such a difference in the cadence of movement. Yeah.
Fun.
And if I hadn't known to go ahead and do the thing that my brain was like, no, you know all about this, just don't bother, I would never have discovered that.
That's what I really enjoy about when we guide people through this, when I guide people through this in one-on-one, is we could just sit and tell people what to do. But I find we don't really ever do that. We always do the thing with the people. And I think that's such a gift to us, that we get to bring some regulation, some awareness of the body to ourselves every time we share it with someone. And I get to be pleasantly surprised. Or I get to bring awareness to, oh, is this the thing I need? Or is it something different? And like how we miss out on those opportunities when we're just telling people what to do. Right? Yeah. So this reminds me of maybe it happens more in a parent-child dynamic or an adult-child dynamic of like trying to help a child feel better and like telling them, oh, maybe it would help to take a few breaths, or maybe it would help to do some jumping jacks or whatever. And often I find like we wouldn't do that with the kid, or some people wouldn't. They would just tell the kid what they could do. Right. But there's something about doing it together that's like, I think it's co-regulation happening.
Yeah.
Right. So even with adult to adult, like if you notice that your friend or whoever you're with could benefit from a little body practice, how might it be to offer to do it together? How would it feel if we did it together? You know, you can always ask the person. And if they prefer to do it themselves, great. But if they're like, oh, that might be nice to do it together. And we were on a call recently, not you and I, but I guess I was on a call recently, and a group call. And we started with a body connection practice similar to when you and I are in group calls for priming and other group calls that we facilitate. And everyone just took a moment to come into connection with their body. So we did a body practice first, and then we connected with our space and each other and started the call, started the content, the talking content, I guess, of the call. And before we did that, a question that I asked people was, how does it feel to know and to see that and feel that you are sitting here with people who are all willing and capable of taking a moment to themselves first and taking care of their own bodies first before they engage with you? Right? How might that be in our lives if we had the trust and we could see that, like, when people engage with us, they take a moment for themselves first to really get into their bodies, really get connected with what's important to them, what they're open to in this exchange, and then they connect with us. How much better might that feel? So, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Mm.
So, our topic today, 2 questions you can ask yourself when you're feeling meh.
Mm-hmm.
Or there were some other ways you described that. The meh was what stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, this morning for me, I just woke up feeling gross. But feeling meh, feeling like I don't really know what to do next. Feeling like maybe you're going through something challenging or just a bit uncomfortable. Maybe you notice yourself either zoning out or trying to figure out in your mind, and it's racing of what should I do next? I don't like the position I'm in right now. I don't like how I feel right now, but I can't figure out how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so that happened to me this morning. I woke up. I thought I would wake up earlier. We were going to come here and record today together. And I enjoy being like punctual and on time and being able to, you know, honor my commitments. And I just looked at the time and I thought, I feel horrible right now.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to feel energized enough and focused enough and just decent enough in my body to even get myself ready on time, let alone like physically ready, let alone like mentally in that headspace to want to sit here and record? And so that question popped into my head. And what was neat was, I guess maybe I'll speak of one of the questions, which is, what is the next helpful thing to do? So once I realized that, I think the next helpful thing to do that registered for me was, you know what? Don't push yourself. Just lay here for a moment. Just lay here and assess, like, how are you really feeling? Do you feel capable to do the thing? Or do you need to change the plan? So I laid with that for a bit and I thought, I don't feel horrible enough to cancel outright right now because there's a chance that I could feel better. And I'm open to that. Also, So then I asked the question again, what's the next helpful thing to do? The next helpful thing to do is to message Steph and just give her a heads up. And I asked myself, do I cancel? Do I not? I'm like, no, like I don't feel the need to cancel right now, but I feel the need to let her know. I woke up. I really don't feel great. I feel like it's going to be a slow morning. Just a heads up. I might not be able to be there right at the exact time we had agreed. And that felt really nice to not feel like I have to just push myself no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And it felt really nice because it wasn't as bad as, oh my gosh, I know for sure I have to cancel it. It was nice to give myself some options of let's just wait it out and see. So asked myself the question again, what's the next helpful thing to do? The next helpful thing to do was get in the shower and see how I'd feel. So I did my usual morning shower, got ready, got dressed, whatever, checked on the kids. And it was about 3 minutes before we were supposed to log on. And I thought, I feel really gross. Like just a low energy, that feeling.
Yeah.
And so I asked myself the second question, which was, how do I want to feel? I thought, I want to feel energized and focused. And then I looked at, what is the situation? I guess that's the third question. What is the situation? The situation is I'm supposed to be logged on in 3 minutes. And we had already delayed the time that we would meet up. And I didn't feel the need or desire to like ask for more time. I was like, okay, the situation is at 3 minutes. And how I want to feel is more act like, what did I say? Energized and focused. And so then I asked myself the first question again, what's the next helpful thing to do then? And I remembered this past week, I've been trying out a new app, I guess. And it creates different sound frequencies that are meant, I think, to help with energizing and focus and just regulating of the system. And it was something new for me. Like I've listened to binaural beats and the solfeggio. Do you know how to say that word?
Solfeggio.
Those whatever things those are.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm a very auditory sensitive person. That sounds can make a big difference in how my nervous system feels, how I feel my body, what my mental outlook is. So, and I remembered, this app, it has a 12-minute version and it has a 2-minute version. And so I thought, I got 3 minutes. Let's just pop that on, see how it feels. So I went and found my headset, put it on for 2 minutes. And then I felt so much better. Like I didn't feel like I totally transformed, but it gave me that like shift that I was looking for and that I needed. And then I felt proud of myself. I'm like, oh, you took good care of yourself just now.
Yay.
And like I could have looked at it as, oh God, I feel like crap. I got 3 minutes. Like just push through. Who cares that I feel like crap?
Yeah.
And so it was nice for me to practice with those two questions. And if you notice how I described it, I asked that first question many times. Like after each thing I did, I said, okay, what's the next helpful thing? What's the next helpful thing? Instead of how do I solve my problem? What's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? And so, what might Steph think if I'm late? All that stuff that's not really helpful. Just what is the next helpful thing to do? And then I think a really important question, and I think you and I lead our lives this way a lot, is how do I want to feel? Right? And allowing that to help guide in terms of what the next choices we make are. What's going to help lean me more towards being able to feel that way? What takes me away from that feeling? And then the next question that I think is really important, because we live in real life and we're not just in fantasy land with all the time in the world, is what is the actual situation? Like, what am I dealing with here? and how could I work with the reality of what I'm dealing with combined with how I want to feel. Right? If I say how I want to feel is energized and focused, I might think I really need a 20-minute something. Right? I don't have a 20-minute something in that situation. And I didn't feel the need to ask for a 20-minute something. If I needed it, I probably could have asked. You probably would have said, okay, cool, whatever, and been good with it. But I think it's an important skill to grow, to be able to find the match between how do I want to feel, what is the actual situation, and what's the next helpful thing that like works with that situation.
Totally. This is reminding me of the difference between saying or thinking I have to do such and such and I want to do such and such. It's also reminding me of the way I used to drag myself through life without asking any questions or considering the situation. It was just, here's what I feel I have to do. Here's my story about the thing I have to do. And there's no deviating from that story. You can't ask for anything. You can't examine the situation because I only have the situation in my head and my own, whatever it is, misery, displeasure, discomfort that I'm going to push through and drag along with me throughout whatever this endeavor is.
Yeah. And I just imagine, say I was in your life at that point in time, and then I was in your physical space, like we were meeting up to do something or spend time together or work on something together. And I'm thinking of how your energy might impact me if you're dragging yourself along, right? And I've definitely drug myself along, like white knuckle, push through, feel sorry for myself. But my version of it, I think, would have been put on a happy face.
Yeah.
Right? So then I bring that kind of energy to someone that I think if someone's in tune, they just feel something is off.
Yeah.
Right? Of like, okay, outwardly, she sort of seems like everything's good, but I feel this other energy that's like sort of heavy and dead or like off.
Yes.
Right? Whereas now I can come to you and I think you can pretty much trust I will have done something to take care of how I'm feeling. To the best of my ability. And if I felt like I couldn't do that on my own, or I couldn't reach out to someone for help, I might ask you. But like, that when we come together, I've taken responsibility of like how to take care of my own energy.
Yeah, you have your own back. Yeah, that dragging feeling that I'm describing too is sort of was me unconsciously handing off my feelings to other people, wanting someone to rescue me from whatever this situation was.
And without asking and telling them either.
For sure. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It's and I think that's very different. If we're feeling sort of draggy and we know like I don't have capacity right now to do anything to change my state and to support myself, I could come to you. You would never oppose that. Like I could come to you and be like, I just feel down in the dumps. Energy is off. Just wanted to let you know. Can you XYZ? Or do you have any ideas? Or are you open to sitting together? It'd be very different. It'd be clear and concise. My ask would be clear. You would have the ability to assess, do I have a desire and capacity to support this person right now? But if I have either no awareness of that or I'm trying to hide that from you, then you just got to try to sort of figure out what the heck is happening.
Something. Yeah. Yeah. It's the energy of being given a platter of misery. Can you please do something about this? As opposed to like, oh, I've got this platter. Like, I know it's here. Maybe can we carry it together? Yeah, I can help you take responsibility, but I can't do the thing for you. Right?
Yes. This reminds me of, I think this term is used quite a bit with Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt in their work. The space in between us. What is in the space in between us? What am I putting in the space between us? And can I, if I'm going to put something in the space in between us, especially something that's not maybe super helpful or very pleasant, or it's a heavier energy, am I willing to be transparent and clear that I'm bringing this energy right now?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not about shaming ourselves that we're bringing this energy. It's just, here I am. I'm just going to really own that I'm bringing this kind of energy, and it's here right now. So if you feel something is off, it's because this is the energy I'm bringing in. It's in between us right now.
And it's there whether we acknowledge it or not, right? People can sense it. And this is making me think of the differences in, like, I want to say size of energy. There are people who could be bringing this dragging energy I'm describing in myself, and they just are like quietly doing that in the corner, and you wouldn't notice unless you maybe engaged with them about it. My energy, I think, and I've had evidence other people also feel this way. I don't think it's a story I'm making up. My energy is enormous, and like it'll take out the whole room, like it's obvious. It's a big black cloud if I let it be. It's not hiding in the corner. It's like affecting whoever's within a 20-foot radius,
Mm-hmm.
So trying to hide that is like hiding an elephant.
And I think it puts people at ease when we can walk into a room and say, hey, I'm bringing in this big dark energy right now. I know it. You probably feel it. I just want to name it and just say it's here. Right. And it's either, I don't need you to fix it, I'm working on it, I'm taking care of it, or holy crap, I really need you to hold me with this. Like, can you, will you, do you have capacity to? Right. That I think is just so much, I don't know, I want to use the word cleaner.
And trustable.
And trustable. And everyone knows where we're at.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it gives this internal feeling of I can settle because we've named what's happening here. Instead of, have you ever had that feeling where you feel something is off in a room with people or whatever, and nobody is saying anything?
Ugh. I'm definitely saying something.
Yeah, you definitely say something. I've been in so many rooms where I feel that. I've been in a home, a family, like family of origin, my house, like my home with my family. I felt that energy all the time where you just feel something is off, but no one's willing to really address it and call it what it is.
Totally.
And I think my body, even though I would prefer not to have that energy maybe in the space, I can tell that my body feels more settled when people just acknowledge this is actually happening. You're not nuts. Your body's not off. Whatever you sense is here is actually here.
This is why the truth is so important, because we are sensing all of this. A very common refrain in CRT is just because you're pretending, that's conscious relationship training, just because you're pretending that you're fine, it doesn't mean you're fine. Just because you're pretending this secret doesn't exist, it still exists. And we can sense it. I'm sure you thought I was done talking about 90 Day Fiancé, but it turns out I'm not.
I don't know if I ever thought that.
I think I announced it.
I actively ever thought that. I think I've just always been an open vessel for your 90 Day Fiancé reflections.
Amazing.
Part of you now.
Thank you for seeing me. There are two women on the show currently. One who talks openly about how she's gentle partnering.
What does that mean?
I think it's like gentle parenting, but to your partner. So instead of effectively what it amounts to in this case anyway, is that instead of being honest, she's pretending to be nice, right? And this is the theme with the other woman too. She's pretending, and I'm using the word wrongly here. It's not that she's pretending, it's that she's only comfortably connected with the nice, friendly, gentle parts of herself, and all the other stuff that's inevitably in there is hidden and feels bad and wrong. So they're not being honest about how they feel, right?
I'm like, so you mean the way I lived for like decades of my life?
Yes, very relatable. Saying something's fine when it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
The one woman in particular has, I would say, quite an unhappy marriage with a very disengaged partner. And she's just smiling the whole time, she's, when something is wrong, she has a big grin and she's sounding very reasonable. And what visibly is bubbling under the surface is like a whole bunch of latent rage that's taken on the qualities of sadness. And nothing she says, even though it's very pleasant, all her words are very pleasant, they all just give me the ick. And it's just energetically discordant. And it's not serving her relationship, right?
Yeah.
If she flipped out, that would probably be better than this gentle, true but false kindness that
Incomplete. Like,
yeah,
it's not the full picture.
yeah,
Right. And I think, if we're talking about gentle parenting, like, I think some people are misunderstand and think that it's about this incomplete kind of, or false kind of, let's just be nice about everything. But my understanding of it in the years that I've been in that realm of work is it's about, can I be kind and firm? Can I be like a truth teller and do it in a kind and respectful way? Right? And we use this term a lot, is can I widen the lens? The one sliver is that I'm compassionate and I feel for you and I see you in this moment and I want the best for us and I'm soft and I'm gentle. If I widen the lens, I also include the part that's super pissed off or annoyed or hurt by this thing. And I want to start giving you the whole picture, the whole truth, not just one sliver of the truth.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like you said, the energy is what's the word you just
Discordant, yeah.
And so the word that pops in for me is incongruency, right? Your words or whatever don't match your energy.
Yeah.
And I always found that such a scary, uneasy feeling as a kid and just growing up, even as an adult. And I think in a lot of our group work, what we try to help people notice is when they're in incongruence, where you might say, well, you're saying this really hard thing that happened to you with a laugh and a smile. And we get why it happens, right? We have our protective patterning there, but we just want to start highlighting so you can notice there's incongruence here. So if we widen the lens, what is the fuller picture? What is the truth of what's happening and what's here and present? So yeah, just can we speak, like you said, just more truthfully about what's really present?
Yeah.
And what that makes me think of is recently on a call, it was a really awesome call. It was full of women and there was one man there, and we were talking about the theme of understanding men in love. And this man, he was lovely and willing to share. And one of the questions we had as women was, how do we share when something is bothering us, something hurt us, something was not okay? And his response was so clear and simple. He said, direct and with love.
Yeah.
That's it. So imagine if we could just practice direct and with love. Yeah. And that sounds like the opposite of what you were telling us about from this 90-day fiance thingy you were just saying.
Yeah. Indirect and with a sliver of love and a whole pie of latent anger.
Which one feels more pleasant to receive?
It's hard, right? And if you're hiding all that anger, it's going to want to come out in different ways. You won't be able to access the love aspect as easily or as much.
Yeah.
It's really helpful to notice this in other people. Like, how do you feel when you encounter discordant energy, when energy doesn't match words? And I think that can be really helpful in giving us space to practice ourselves and being more honest and congruent and fulsome in what we're sharing of our experience.
I used to get really panicky in past relationships as an adult. Like something felt off in my body. And then I didn't really have, I think, the most helpful tools to address it. I just felt something is off in my body. And then I would go into, I think, interrogation mode.
Oh, yes.
Because I felt like something was off.
Yeah.
What are you saying? What are you really saying? But your face said this. And just grilling.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you couldn't have possibly meant that because X, Y, Z. And they're getting super flustered because they're like, what the heck is happening? Because I don't think generally people are wanting to mislead us.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're wanting to protect, maybe in hopes of protecting the connection or not causing conflict. They're only sharing one sliver of the truth, right? Or they're trying to dampen the truth, however you want to call it. But like, I had such a strong radar for it. I'm like, something feels so off. And my way of trying to address that wasn't super helpful either. And then here we are in this big pile of mess together.
Yeah. So this is probably a great place to reinsert those questions.
Mm-hmm.
I've diverted us completely from our topic, and it can still come back. So you're in this situation, you've encountered, I mean, the feeling I get when I experience this kind of discordant energy is like a whole selection of walls just going up internally. What would you advise someone about what is the next helpful or decent thing to do in that situation?
Well, I think what I would do is just look at, personally for me, if I walk myself through that kind of situation again. And it's funny because for some reason, the visual that I have is we're in the car arguing about something. Driving, that's the flashback I land back at.
Yeah.
Where I'm sensing someone's energy is not matching what the words are saying. Oh, I want to come back to that in a second, actually. So I think if I were to ask myself, what's the next helpful thing? Like, first, I probably just would have noticed something feels fiery in me. Something feels off and something feels fiery. So like, that would be the thing. The next helpful thing is just notice what's happening in my body right now. What the heck is going on? And then if I'm picturing myself in the car, I might just hold the door handle in the passenger seat and just feel some body connection to help me be with the big sensation that's sort of starting to build up like a bonfire inside my body. The part, like when you said walls come up for you, for me, I'm like, okay, there's walls, but like I'm ready with spears also to shoot you and like interrogate you and be like, don't mess with me. Like, what the heck? That's not the whole truth. I sense it.
Yeah.
Right. And so the question, what's the next helpful thing? Okay, feel my hand here. Probably if I ask myself the question again, it would be, how about a few long, slow exhales? And then if I ask myself that question again, what's the next helpful thing? And I'm tracking this. This is definitely how I would have handled things in the past once I knew these tools and how I would handle it now. I would probably be like, what's something I can look at right now? And I just look out the window and find anything. And for some reason, we're driving by IKEA. That's the image. I'm like, look at the IKEA sign. And long, slow exhale. And then I might ask myself, how do I want to feel? And the question might be, I want to feel, if I could get to my heart space, it would be, I want to feel deeper connection with this person. Like, I want to feel that we get each other again. Right? I don't know in that moment whether I would have access to that yet. It might just be, I want to feel like that this fire that's burning comes down.
Yeah.
And so a little bit more calm, maybe. And then I might, what's the next helpful thing? The next helpful thing might be to say, hey, I'm feeling a fire burning in my body because I felt like something was off here in this conversation. I just wanted to put that out there. And then what's the next helpful thing? I need to hold the door handle again. And go through that whole series again of coming to body, coming to looking at something, coming to breath. And what is neat about that, which I wouldn't have done in the past when I didn't know these tools, is I wouldn't have seen the value in just stating what's happening with me right now.
Huge value. Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of what we're talking about. Can we speak about what's in the space between us? What's in the space in between us right now is like, I feel this fiery rage in my body because something felt off in what I heard you say and what I saw in your body language or facial expression. Yeah. Period. That's it. And then after that, I can keep asking those questions. What's the next helpful thing? How do I want to feel? In this situation, like I've been in situations in cars where I'm like, just stop the car, pull over. I just need to get the heck out of this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might feel like, hey, it's escalated so much. And for the well-being of everyone, we really do need to pull the car over and get out and move and have some space from each other. But sometimes it's just an activation that doesn't really require that kind of pausing and resetting, right? So I would just want to practice asking myself, how do I want to feel? How can I help create that experience for myself right now? Like, does it help to keep thinking this person's a jerk, and they're lying to me? Like that, if I want to feel calm, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right? But it took me learning to ask myself, how do I want to feel? And it took me self-responsibility. Like, if you ask yourself how you want to feel, I want to feel calmer, but you aren't willing to take self-responsibility, you're going to want the other person to create your calm for you, right? And you probably won't even be very direct about that. But I really had to practice for, a number of years in my life. Like, I need to take responsibility for helping myself create the feeling that I want to have right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so that might mean I need to do some things. And sure, I could ask other people, but I have to own that there's something I need to do if I want to feel this way.
Yeah. This is such an important distinction when you're talking about reporting your mind and your body sensations too, right? It used to be that I might say like, wow, I'm feeling a fire in my body and it's your fault and I need you to do something about it.
Or you better do something.
And you better, yeah. And some passive aggressive, I was so good at that. And the difference between like, okay, wow, I need to pause because I'm feeling a fire in my body and I need to manage that before I speak again. Totally different vibe.
Yeah, I would have never said, I feel a fire in my body. I never would have said this to the person. I would have never said it to myself. And I need to do something to manage this fire, right? Before I speak again.
Yeah.
That would never have been a thing. It would have been, the fire I'm going to breathe on you right now is totally warranted and deserved in my mind. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. This is reminding me that I actually was reasonably good when I was like, okay, I'm at a limit. I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need you to leave me alone for a minute. And I was often faced with a refusal to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Facing me from room to room, pecking away at whatever. And I'm just like, look, I'm going to lose my mind. You need to leave me alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you do in that situation when you got to that point?
Well, I remember one time I broke a glass on the floor. And another time I sat in the corner between the bed and the wall, as far away as I could get. And I maybe plugged my ears. Like the visual I have is just like holding my head, like trying to contain myself physically, I think, and trying to dissociate from whatever outward situation was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I asked that because I've been in that situation before where I tried to put in a boundary of like, I'm getting flooded here. I'm on fire here. Like, we really need a pause, right? Because there was a time where I would just engage in the fire. And then there became a time where I'm like, I don't want to feel this way. I need a break from this energy and this dynamic. And I've experienced being chased around the house, followed around the house, right? Not in an aggressive, I fear for my life kind of way, but just in a way that was too much for my nervous system to handle. And I remember setting the boundary, saying like, please don't follow me around. I just need some space. And there was an incident one time where like I just, upon like reflection and hindsight, I'm like, I allowed myself to get pulled back in to that dynamic again because I did not stand firm enough in leaving the situation. And here I'm not talking about like abusive or dangerous situations, because obviously those have a lot of other variables at play. But I think I didn't give myself permission to just actively get up and leave.
Yeah.
Like, I went to another room, I closed the door. But when that wasn't enough, like, I allowed myself to like re-engage in that sort of mutual fire instead of just being like, I'm leaving, I'm going home, I'm walking out of this building right now. And like, I knew in that case, like nothing dangerous was going to happen to me. So that's a different kind of situation. Like, there was freedom to go, but it just didn't register in my mind that I needed to take it to that. It didn't register in my mind. I need to take the boundary to that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just interesting to talk it out here.
Yeah.
Right. This reminds me of when we set boundaries with children. And when in all my years working with families, I would say, before you set a boundary with your children, notice whether you have the capacity and desire to actually follow through, to like do the action that your words are saying. Because if you don't, it's okay. Don't even bother saying the boundary, because the lesson you're teaching is that your words don't matter. Right. And so in that case, if I'm looking and self-reflecting, I said like, please, I need some space. I need, to just be left alone. And I said that numerous times. I was willing to take the action of going to another room, shutting the door. But like, I'm seeing now that I'm like, I needed to actually take that action, the follow through, another step further of just physically leaving the building.
Yeah.
And so I always find it interesting for me to like reflect on, hey, which parts were my part? Like, not taking ownership that's not mine, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that person came with some energy and wasn't so activated they couldn't respect my boundary. That was on him, right? To practice those skills. But I'm like, if there was anything I could tweak about that, how I handled that, what would it be for the next time, just so I know? And it was really helpful for me to see that I need to give myself permission to take my action to the next level, to really honor that boundary that I said with my words.
Well, and it's something that's changed, right? Like, I think there's a slight nuance here between establishing the boundary. You're sort of saying you established it not quite accurately. But I think it's a reflection of how we were actually feeling in that moment, which is that I don't like this, but I'm still kind of here for it. Like, I'm not actually leaving. I'm just going to the other room because I just want this situation to be different. Whereas today it would just be like, oh, I'm not available for this at all.
Absolutely not. I'm out of here.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the way you described it is exactly how I felt. And it was such a icky feeling because there was no clarity for
anyone.
Not enough clarity for the other person, and not enough clarity for myself.
Yeah.
Right. So it feels much better in me now, knowing like exactly what you said. I'm not available to participate in this energy exchange anymore. Like, I'm getting myself out of it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like cooked mushrooms. And I'm not going to be like, oh, well, okay. I'm just going to be like, no, I just don't want that. I'm just not having it. I'm not going to sort of put it in my mouth a little bit and pretend I like it and then get upset about it. I'm just not having it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's neat, right? When it comes to like things like that, we might be clearer with the boundary. We might be clear of like, there's no way I'm entertaining that even for a moment.
Yeah. I like these food examples because I think they're very clear. It's like we were talking, was it yesterday we were recording, and you were talking about reliving past memories in a practical sense to remember how something felt. And I think it can be difficult for us when it comes to relationships to kind of, things can be murky and unclear. But that sensation of like, oh no, I I love chocolate, or I hate mushrooms, or whatever it is, and recognizing that felt sense in your body of what that's like, and then transposing that on top of relationship situations. Does this feel good? Does this feel not good?
Yeah. And like when I think of your mushroom example, I think back to like a previous version of myself where it may be in my own home feeding myself, I would never feed myself mushrooms. But if I was at someone else's house and they offered mushrooms, I might be like, okay. And then sit with the mushrooms in my mouth when I'm like, nasty and gross, right? Because I was too afraid to stand up and speak up for what feels good for me and what doesn't.
Yeah. But what if it was an allergy? Like then suddenly the flavor changes. It's like, oh no, I can't eat that because it's going to kill me, or it's going to give me hives, or whatever it is. We've got such different thresholds of capacity depending on the situation, and we can interchange them. We can try them on in different ways.
Yeah, I like that. And come back briefly to when someone is energy or facial expression or body language or tone doesn't match the words. And maybe we can all remember a moment where that's happened, where we're on the receiving end of that and how that feels in the body. But like what I wanted to say about this is babies sense this.
Ooh, yeah.
Babies sense when their caregivers are giving mixed messages. And I think they've done research on this. Actually, I've seen the videos of this. And they look very stunned and confused for a moment. And you can see it in their eyes, like trying to assess what is happening. Is this safe? Right? And one of my teachers once said, I forget the frequency that's happening, but it happens really fast, many times in every second, every minute. We're assessing, am I safe? Am I safe? Do I matter? Right? And even a very young, like infant can tell when things are not congruent. I think we're just wired that way to sense it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So practice really noticing when things feel incongruent in your space, in dynamics. Notice whether you're the one bringing in an incongruent energy or whether it's someone else, and see if you can just speak for it without blaming and shaming, right?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
See you thinking. Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm just flashing back to moments of working with couples where I see it happening, where like the words and the energy don't match. And like the body language and the energy, like the words don't match. And I'm watching both people and like, pausing them and highlighting it and seeing if they notice, right? Helping people practice. Like, if you feel really angry about this, how could you say it in a way that shows that you really feel angry about this in a way that's still kind and respectful?
Yeah.
And practicing that.
Yeah.
Or if you feel really sad about this, like when we've been facilitating groups and people have told us things that they might even say, I feel sad about this, but the way they share it, you don't sense that there's any sadness there. And we'll ask them, hey, like, did you notice that? Are you open to trying it again and sharing with us what you feel sad about in a way that allows sadness to actually be present? And it's always a very illuminating experience for people and freeing and liberating. And I think really emotional sometimes too, that people feel, oh, there's permission and safety here to just really be me and share what's really going on.
Yeah. Honesty creates a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honesty with kindness.
Yeah. Well, okay. Have you got a closing practice in mind? In body?
Had one. Oh, but I was noticing, I was going to laugh. That was what was the impulse, because I'm noticing the time.
We were doing a quickie, weren't we? Has it been an hour?
It's been 54 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent at 54-minute mark.
Yeah. Right. So this is what a quickie turned into. This is a funny body practice. I don't think you're going to all be able to do the thing that I'm doing right now, but you could probably find your own version of that. Oh yeah, I could walk you through. So what I'm doing, I'm actually in my bedroom right now because my children are here at summer vacation. And I am sitting on the floor on a ball, and I don't know how this happened. It just happened. I have stuck my hands in between the mattress and the box spring of my bed.
Oh, yes.
And it feels very nice.
Pressure.
Pressure. Yes. So if you want to add some pressure onto your hands, right? Are you sitting on your hands?
Yeah, I just put them under my butt.
Yeah. Nice. See how that feels, right? You could sit on your hands. You could take one hand and push on the other hand and add a little bit of pressure. You could go to your bed if you have a box spring and a mattress and shove your hands in between the mattress and see how that feels. But yeah, pressure. Pressure has been something that is very regulating for my body. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Containment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gigi. Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it.
Is it? Okay, that's it. Well, thank you guys for being here. As always, please like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.